Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome back. Before we properly get started, if you haven't already, do remember to subscribe. And of course, a like and a share would be absolutely splendid. It genuinely helps us out a tremendous amount, and for that, we're immensely grateful. So, without further ado, let's now properly delve into today's episode. Right then. In our last episode, we kicked off a crucial discussion about what it truly means to be a maverick and, why they perceive the world so differently. If you missed that one, I highly recommend pausing this video and checking it out first, as we were really laying the groundwork for understanding the complete picture of what a maverick is. You'll find the link right in the description below, so do go take a look and then join us back here. First off, I always try to explain a point through a bit of a story and different perspectives, much like pieces of a puzzle. And then, when these pieces are connected, they reveal the whole picture, don't they? So, the first piece of our puzzle today, well, it revolves around a game. Let's explore it together, shall we? I'm quite sure many of you have played this one before, though I'm not entirely certain of its official name. I reckon it's something like Dot to Dot, but honestly, the name doesn't really matter. The concept of the game, it's quite straightforward. You simply connect the numbered dots on the paper in the correct sequence. You might notice though that my AI video seems to be having a bit of fun actually with the pictures suddenly changing, but I'll ensure you grasp the fundamental idea, which is connect the dots and a picture will emerge. However, there's a very subtle point here. The picture is always present, but we simply can't perceive it until all the dots are joined up. So, it truly requires someone to, take the initiative and connect all of them. Now, let's make it a tad trickier, shall we? Imagine you've got a piece of paper absolutely covered in dots, but with no numbers, no clues whatsoever about where to even begin, or indeed, where to finish. The core idea still remains the same. Paper, dots, connect them. But you might think, are these dots completely useless then? Or so it would seem, wouldn't it? What's the real difference between this scenario and the previous one? What changes simply due to the lack of numbers, which, prevents us from knowing the sequence, thus making us unable to create the picture? Actually, this precise scenario, this is where you truly see the difference between, say, a maverick and what we might call a normal person. As I mentioned in a previous clip, a maverick, they see the whole picture before it even exists. They don't wait for someone to show them the sequence of numbers. They don't just blindly follow a path simply because it's always been there. So, why is it that some people struggle to find the hidden picture? Or, perhaps a better way to put it, why aren't they able to create their own unique picture within it? Dot to dot here is really a metaphor, isn't it? We're not talking about literally connecting dots. I'm trying to speak about mindset and perspective, and just how deeply we're able to see things. So, let's get back to that question. Why aren't we able to create our own picture from a whole load of dots, especially when you consider how many possibilities there are? Let's have a quick look at it mathematically, shall we? If you've got, say, 100 dots on a piece of paper, there are 4,950 possibilities just to connect any two dots in any sequence you fancy. So why, in the first place, can't we find any picture? Or, let me just correct myself, why aren't we able to create any picture? Well, the simple answer, I reckon, comes down to how we've been trained and educated over so many years, through school, university, workshops, jobs, and all that. We've simply learned to follow sequences and, we are often judged based on how closely we adhere to a predefined path. Or, I could even say, reaching the destination doesn't matter if you don't use the planned path. I believe this kind of situation has really trained our brains over the years to think there are only a few acceptable paths, and the rest are just dead ends. Let's consider another example, shall we? Think back to our student days. How many of us truly tried to solve maths or physics problems in a completely different way? I'm not asking how many of you actually succeeded in solving those mathematical equations in your own unique way. I'm talking about how often we even bothered to try thinking differently. I know it might sound like a bit of a silly idea. Imagine trying to calculate the kinetic energy of an object using your own formula. But you know, I'm just asking if you ever even thought about it. Keep all these in the back of your mind, and let's talk about another piece of our puzzle. Do settle in, because I want to, well, transport you back to the 9th of January 2007, to that Apple event where the very first iPhone was unveiled.
So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
Now, maybe some of you remember that day. That day was truly, truly revolutionary in the mobile phone industry. And it fundamentally changed the whole paradigm of how we used phones back then. And, you know, what capabilities a single phone could actually possess. After that day, making calls and sending texts, well, they just became one of the many, many side features of phones. This, of course, raises a few pertinent questions. Firstly, was Apple the very first company to create and produce a full touchscreen phone? Was the iPhone solely Steve Jobs' idea? Why hadn't other companies come up with this idea? Or, you know, why was this idea so unique? Well, first things first, Apple wasn't actually the very first company to create a full touchscreen phone. Other companies had already made strides in that realm before, such as the Nokia 7710 and LG Prada. So it certainly wasn't an original idea by Apple. Secondly, the idea of creating this new touchscreen phone, it wasn't like Archimedes shouting, "Eureka! Eureka!" for Steve Jobs. Not at all. The iPhone was, in fact, the culmination of a vast evolution of many ideas, stemming from experiences Apple had with Motorola in phone development and the continuous effort to upgrade the iPod. It involved contributions from various departments and numerous individuals, eventually leading to the creation of the iPhone. So, were other companies thinking of changing this mobile phone paradigm to the smartphone? And if so, why weren't they successful? Steve Jobs, he actually answers this question in this clip.
Now, why do we need a revolutionary user interface? I mean, here's 4 smartphones, right? Motorola Q, the BlackBerry, Palm Treo, Nokia E62, the usual suspects. And what's wrong with their user interfaces? Well, the problem with them is really sort of in the bottom 40 there. It's this stuff right here. They all have these keyboards that are there whether you need them or not to be there. And they all have these control buttons that are fixed in plastic and are the same for every application. Well, every application wants a slightly different user interface, a slightly optimized set of buttons just for it. And what happens if you think of a great idea 6 months from now? You can't run around and add a button to these things, they're already shipped. So what do? It doesn't work because the buttons and the controls can't change. They can't change for each application, and they can't change down the road if you think of another great idea you want to add to this product.
Right then, as you can see, other companies were, also trying to create a better smartphone. But they tried to build it upon the foundations of the traditional mobile phone, didn't they? We need to have a look at what exactly happened for Apple, and more specifically for Steve Jobs. You see, Jobs had his own piece of paper, absolutely covered in dots, and he just created his own picture, didn't he? Every single dot in this particular case, well, it represents something. One dot, for instance, represents Apple's experience with Motorola in creating mobile phones. Another dot is for their experience with the iPod, for playing music, of course. Then there's a dot for the progress of touchscreen technology, and another dot for the sheer potential of the touchscreen market in the future. Some other dots, they'd represent key individuals like Johnny Ive, Scott Forstall, Tony Fadell, and Tim Cook. And well, many, many other dots too. I reckon the most important thing Jobs did, actually, was connect these dots together. Jobs, through this connection of dots, eventually created his own picture. He simply used the correct dots in the correct positions and connected all of them. And also, bear in mind, every single dot in this case also has a Maverick story behind it. Here, in this story, each dot represents a component or person with its own Maverick story. Or, perhaps all the people involved in this story are good examples of the Maverick mindset. So, Apple, with a different way of thinking, was able to create its own new formula for the mobile phone equation. In this clip, I've tried to explain the importance of thinking outside the box and structuring your approach. Sometimes the answer is right in front of us, hidden behind uncertainty. Other times, you'll need to equip yourself with the tools you already possess to create a solution. Unfortunately, there's no universal pathway to show you exactly how to train your mind to think in a way that allows you to create your own unique picture. Everyone has their own unique approach. You should find yours and practice seeing things differently. I do hope you enjoyed this clip, and if you did, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Connect your dots in the way you want and create your own unique picture. Until next time!